Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of GamizeGigs podcast, where we talk about businesses, how they can grow with the help of gamification, loyalty programs, and building the reward ecosystem inside their application and the website. Today, we are going to talk about how to get started when it comes to gamifying your business. And for that, we have a product manager who has previously implemented gamification in multiple products, Harshit Jhawar. Hi, I'm Megha Saraswat, product manager for GameEyes and the host for today's podcast. I have been into customer engagement space for like 6 years now. Now I'll hand over the spot to Harshit. Hi, Harshit. How are you? Can you tell a bit
Hey
about your?
Megha, I'm great. How are you? So Megha, basically, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here, and I think it's a great platform for me to
Mhm.
interact with a lot of people and basically be able to share my learnings as well, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just give a background about like my journey. So basically, this starts back in college. Like I always like building things. That's how I started basically running one or two campus startups. And that's when I found my love for product management. And that's how I got into my first product role. So I joined an e-commerce company when e-commerce was very new in India. So I was stayed there for 4 years, built the entire mobile app out there, right? It's one of the most successful e-commerce companies in India today. Then I spent some time with an edtech platform, and then I was working with one of India's largest like game gaming app, right? So that's where basically I realized, like moving from the core funnels aspect of it, how do you
Hmm.
get deeper into the human psychology, right? Which enables you to build 10x better products, 10x deeper products, right?
True.
That's how I saw this love for gamification, and that's why I ended up getting into gamification. So
Yeah.
that's about my journey.
Yeah, I think with this journey, you have rightly answered my first question. My first question was, how did you develop an interest towards gamification? And tell us about your journey so far. So, to shed a little more light on your, working in one of your gaming product, like you mentioned. So, can you share a bit about how, gamification idea struck to you that okay, this can be used in customer engagement space?
Sure. So I think this was basically when I was working in e-commerce, I realized that there is a limit to it you can optimize. Let's
Yeah.
say you have an X% conversion rate, but there's a limit to it, right?
True. Hmm.
There's a when you talk to users, there's a lot more thing you can do to engage them even more. So like if I go a couple of years back, let's say we when we all were young and we loved playing games, right? The
Yeah.
games never made us and never paid us money to play, but still we love playing games, right? Why
Correct.
was that? Right?
Hmm.
Because games basically caught out some emotions in us or some code drives in us, right? And
Yeah.
those code drives is what made us so much engaged in the game so that we were never able to like spend hours every day playing games, right? As
True.
kids, right? So when I started thinking deeper, I thought about what are those areas of these particular games that games have done to make you so engaged? Can it be built into some other products out there,
Hmm.
right?
True.
And that's why I started toying with the idea of gamification, which basically is also a definition of what gamification actually is.
Gamification. Yeah.
But that's a thought process even I had when I started getting into this area.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I think we are the generation who grew up playing video games, right? And even if in the video game, if we are progressing, that gives a sense of achievement to us, right? That we have achieved something. Now it's a next level. That's a new challenge that we have to crack, and that's how apps are now playing the mind of the end users. That okay, now this is a new challenge that you have to crack. This is how they are building the customer engagement loop basically. So now coming to my second question, how should one start their gamification journey? So they are very new in the business, so how should one approach gamification?
Sure. So, Megha, I think I would want to break a lot of notions here when I talk about how to approach gamification, right? A lot of times when we have a goal in mind, what we think about is let's take an element of a game, let's take a badge, let's take a spin the wheel, let's take
Yeah.
X, Y, Z, put in the product and expect it to like grow or give you really, really good returns, right?
Yeah.
Uh, That's a while. It's a decent way to start. That may or may not work, but if you really want to do something way different, like way better, you have to start thinking about how what the user is feeling at different times. So you have to, instead of just taking up a mechanic, putting in your product, you have to start thinking about the core drives or the emotions that the user is feeling
Yeah,
at different journeys in your product, right?
true.
Once you figure out this, you will be able to understand what is it that motivates these people, these users of the product at different stages, right? Now, once you know what kind of motivation uh,
Mm,
these people need, then you can figure out what are the kind of rewards you want to give them, right? So
true.
basically, keep building that motivation, that keep giving them a reward. This will keep getting them more engaged with the product, right? So motivations can be two type. They can be monetary or extrinsic. You can just give a discount, you can give just some money or anything else, right? Or it could be intrinsic, right? Most often what we do is we'll just do a spin the wheel, for example. We'll just give like 100 rupees reward and it works out.
Yeah.
It works out definitely. Money can
Mm,
never lie. I mean, the money will always work out. But if you're able to think beyond that, right, always try to push yourself to think beyond that. Is there anything apart from money that I can give that
yes.
can motivate
Mm,
this user to play more?
true.
A very good example of this is if you have played Farmville a couple of years back,
Yes. Mm,
or there was this series of Facebook games that have come out. There was something called Zombie Wars, I think. There was Farmville. There were many other games, right? They never paid you money, right? All they asked you, they gave you some in-game rewards,
mm,
which is really essential to boost your gameplay. But to do that, you have to share and invite your friends,
yes. Yes. Yeah.
and that's how basically they grew. They got a lot of reach in a very short time,
Hard time.
right?
True.
Yeah.
Every
So
day in
this
the
is one
morning we used
example.
to get notifications from the friends that you are
Yeah.
inviting. So
Yeah.
that is a very clever way of implementing. Not it's not a gamification like with the activity like a spin wheel or something, but again it's a form of gamification where you are driving user to do something, nudging them. So
Right.
that is correctly said.
Right. So once you start doing this, right, what different you can do is you can probably think of
Yes.
your own mechanic, right? Right now, when we think about game mechanics, we are only limited to mechanics which are used in games. But in
Yes.
this case, let's take example of Facebook like button, right?
Hmm.
Whenever I post something, people start liking it. I am more engaged due to different emotions that I feel, right?
Hmm.
And essentially, what happens that builds a habit, right? Now, Facebook like button was never a game mechanic earlier, right? Facebook just figure out this desire that people
Hmm.
have, the social validation desire. They want to grow, they want to feel respected, they want to feel talked about, right? And then they build this mechanic out of nowhere, right?
True.
And it did wonders. Now, I think every social media platform you see has this like mechanic. It's like the basics of every social media
Yeah, we
out
should.
there,
True.
right? So you always have to think about what are the motivation factors, what are the emotions that users feel, and then give you those rewards. Rewards could be anything. It could also be an action. Very simple,
True.
right?
Hmm.
Now, once you give the user a reward, the next step I would say is to figure out after the user earns a reward, there is something might happen. What are the second order effects of that? Now, when I talk about second order effects, it can be two things. It
Hmm.
can either be the user is feeling some other emotion, like this is the next thing I want to do, right? Or the user wants to do some action, right?
Hmm.
So then you keep figuring out the second order effects and then put all of these mechanics together, and that will essentially end cause the user to achieve this flow, right? Where we are moving from one engagement lever to the other,
Hmm.
right? And this loop can go on. So that's what I generally think how you should approach gamification. There are a lot of frameworks out there,
Hmm.
right?
True.
One very important to note is like when you're building gamification in your existing product, it cannot be an activity at a different, like in a silo. Like, let's say I have an e-commerce platform, right? I want to give users some reward points the moment they buy something. But those reward points should be given to the user immediately after they place their order, right?
True.
Essentially, otherwise it leads to various factors, right?
Hmm.
Why this is important is because the user also needs to be delighted, and
True.
that's how that motivation hits, right? So your gamification has to be integrated with your core product at different junctions, and that's how you approach gamification. And yeah, I think that should be it.
Well, I mean, this is the very first time I've been in this gamification space since last 2.5 years, and I've been talking to a lot of people about, especially on the game mechanics side, because for one of us, core target industry is also BFSI and e-commerce, and generally people talk about, placing badges, having the leaderboards out of it, but the very good part that you mentioned about the like button of Facebook. No, I never thought, to be very honest, that the like button can also be a game mechanic, can be thought of as a game mechanic. But when you brought in the context of social validation, that's a very you know apt thing to say, because today's generation is all about getting social validation. It's and the badges also is nothing but the flaunting part of it. That okay, I won a badge and now I'm flaunting it on video social media. So again, it's a social validation part. So yeah, I really got a different approach how to see Facebook altogether. Because for me, Facebook was kind of a dead. I'm a more of Instagram person, so I didn't see Facebook as okay, something there is also happening. Yeah.